The format that we use in research in the institution, starting with the research title. Wait lang, this is for the format. Let me, dito tayo sa baba pala. Ayan, starting with the title page. So I've discussed already the different characteristics of the research title na dapat yung sundin. And then I believe you have your titles now. It's almost, the semester is almost done. So definitely meron na talaga yan. But you have to edit your title. Let me show you an example of that. This is the correct title page. Please follow this again. You have here the title. If your title is more than one na line, just like this one, tatlong linya ito, you have to arrange that one in an inverted pyramid format. And then at the same time, we will be using title page or title case capitalization. What do you mean by that? Only the first letters of every major word ang ikakapital. So as you can see, this one, medical fake news, take note the end, yung mga connector words natin, function words natin, they are not included or they are not treated as major words, so we don't capitalize the first letter. Okay, their first letters. So again, this is called title case capitalization. And then this is to be followed by this one, a study presented to the Faculty of Medical Technology program of GSD-MSFI in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science in MedTech. And then to be followed by your names. And then you have here the month and year wherein you target to accomplish your research. Most likely, this will be May 2023. Okay, and then to be followed by an approval sheet. So this is how it looks. If since this is recorded, pwede nyo lang siyang balikan para gawin nyo na siya, yung approval sheet. Siyempre, your advisor is Ma'am Dalig. And then we have here the panelists. So please take note, si Dean yung inyong chairman and then included ako sa members, and then si Ma'am Lugto. So you really have to prepare for that. Everyone should know about their paper. Kay lisod, kung dili makatubag, damay ang tanan. It doesn't mean na you are the one who made the introduction, ikaw lang yung sasagot if ang question is about the introduction. Everyone should know your paper para kahit pa ano ang itanong sa iyo, masasagot mo siya. Hindi pwedeng call a friend tayo dito. Mali ng isa or hindi makakasagot yung isa, damay ang buong grupo. That will be a deduction for the whole group. Okay? So you have to make sure that everyone in your group is like updated sa research ninyo. Okay? Ayan siya. You just make this as May 2023. And then that should be followed by acknowledgement. So sa acknowledgement will be the list of people you're going to acknowledge because in one way or another they have helped you in your research. So our format in the institution is you have to state first God, and then after that the school, including the administrators and the BOT and even si Dean. Tapos after that will be the panelists and then the advisor. Yan yung pagkakasunod-sunod ha. And then after the advisor will be other people that have helped you in your research. But this will not be complete for the proposal defense since you are not yet done with your paper. You just have to edit this one sa final defense na. Kasi along the way, especially in your data gathering, meron kayong ma-encounter na mga tao na makakatulong sa inyo sa research. Okay? And then you have the researchers there. And then the abstract. By the way, abstract is not yet required in the proposal defense because abstract class is a one-page summary of your paper. So definitely your paper is not yet complete. You don't have your results and even your like discussions or conclusions. You don't have that yet. So hindi pa tayo makakagawa ng summary of the paper. So pwedeng leave this blank first for the abstract. And then that is to be followed by the table of contents. So please take note for the list of preliminaries. The title page, yung preliminaries, we will use Roman numerals for our page numbers. And then the page 1 will be the introduction. Okay? So preliminaries, this will be, class? Ina-ask ito ng panel, hinahanap ito ng panel during the defense, the title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement abstract, the table of contents, and if you have appendices, figures, and tables, you may include that one also. And then we have the introduction. By the way, pwede niyo nang hindi i-separate yung review of related literature. Isama niyo na siya dito sa scope and delimitations. Kasi we will just have the major sections of your paper, the introduction and then the methodology, yung results and discussions next time na yan, since wala pa nga yan ngayon. And then you have to include references, appendices, and curriculum vitae. Okay? So ito yung examples of the list of appendices. If you have questionnaires, you may include a copy of that. And then since you are doing a survey, you have to secure informed consent. So you may also include in the appendices. It will be on the last part of your paper, a copy of your informed consent form. All the letters that you need to secure and yung mga letters for permission ninyo, you also have to include that one in the list of appendices. Yung map, yung sa research local ninyo, the map will be included here also. Yung iba, idagdag na lang natin sa final defense, like yung mga certificates ninyo from your grammarian or from your statistician. Okay? And then ito yung list of figures if ever you have figures in your paper. So just like the conceptual framework or yung schematic diagram ninyo of the procedure of the study, we call that figures. And you have to include that one after the table of contents. And then the list of tables, but actually the list of tables will include tables that you are going to do in your results. But since you don't have your results yet, pwede mo nang walang list of tables. And then again, the first page should be the introduction. What is wrong here, class, is kasi dapat, wala itong page number dito. Ayan. This should be erased. Kasi the first page of the section, of every section of your paper should not bear page number, but it's automatically the page 1 for the introduction. So dito ka na magsa-start sa page 2. Okay? Page 2 dapat ito ha. Pero yan na, dyan na yung makikita mo yung page number. Okay? Sige, so yun yung preliminaries. And we have here, wait lang sa baba tayo. Okay, so after that class, you have to secure your references ha. That should follow the correct APA format also, but next week, if we still have time next week, I'll be discussing that sa inyo. And then after that will be the appendices. So nasira lang yung format nito ha when they sent it to me sa email. Pero this should be one page here, appendices, and then you have to name your appendices. Appendix A will be the survey questionnaire and so on. Depende na kung ano yung kailangan nyo sa inyong paper. Okay, and then the last part will be the curriculum vitae. I will not show you their curriculum vitae ha, kasi I did not ask permission sa kanila and they have personal information there. But let me show you na lang my own CV. Okay, let's use my own CV para I will not ask permission anymore. Now, this will be the format that we are going to use in your curriculum vitae. So please include a 2x2 picture, but please walang magsa-selfie. Yung gagamitin ninyo is a formal one. Since wala kayong picture na nakatoga kayo, you may use a picture na naka-school uniform kayo or naka-duty uniform. As long as you are uniform class sa inyong grupo. Kung naka-duty uniform yung isa, dapat kayong lahat naka-duty uniform. Or if wala kayong picture na ganon, pwedeng business attire. Pero lahat should be in business attire ha. And then, ito yung mga data that we need to include. Siyempre, the name, the contact numbers, contact details, and then you have the personal data. Ito yung magiging yung kailangan nyo ng mga information, and then we have the educational background. Okay, so like primary education, the name of the school, the address of the school, and then if ever lang merong like awards and everything, you may include that one also, and then the year. Especially the year graduated. So, syempre sa inyo hanggang tertiary lang yan. Kasi hindi pa naman kayo nag-graduate. Itong employment experience, pwede na itong wala. Okay? Sige. So, again, this will be the format. Please include one in your paper na gagamitin for the proposal defense. Kailangan natin yan ha. Do you have questions or clarification so far? Wala. Sure. So what is the next part? I ended with the yung sa research instruments. Anong next one? Okay. Wait lang, class. Ay, di pala ako naka-share screen. Ito pala. Ayan. So we are still in the methodology section. We are done with the research instrument. Tapos, ang next niyan class is the data gathering procedure. Pero, mas mainam class yung data gathering procedure nyo. I don't know if I have mentioned last time, naka-phase tayo. Like, name niya siya phase 1. Phase 1 is permission. And then you place there the step-by-step procedure that you're going to do to ask permission to everyone that you needed to ask permission to have, like sa dean or like sa laboratory, in charge sa laboratory, and kung kanino pa kayo kailangan humingi ng permission, i-include niyo siya dyan. Tapos phase 2 will be preparation of materials. So syempre, if your study is an experimental study, you include all the steps class or all the procedures that you need to undertake to prepare all the materials needed in your experimentation. But if your study is descriptive study, then you may include here the procedure in making your questionnaire, including the validation process. And lastly, the phase 3 will be the research, the data gathering procedure na talaga. So this is the research proper, wherein it should be step by step also, yung procedure on how to get your data. So if it's an experimental study, the experimental procedure mismo. If it is class descriptive study na you will be doing survey, yung survey proper ang ilagay ninyo dito. Okay? And how you're going to recruit your participant, and yung mga pag-secure nyo ng mga informed consent sa kanila. How are you going to give to them the questionnaire? Will it be personally or will it be through the use of platforms like Google Forms. Okay? And then the next part, well, that we are almost done with our methodology. You have here the data analysis. So sa data analysis, syempre, if your study is quantitative, we are expecting to see the specific statistical tools that you're going to utilize, okay, after you have gathered your data. So that will be per SOP. Sample, when you're asking about the demographic profile, that is for number 1, what is the demographic profile? The statistical tool to be used there is just frequency table, percentage and frequency table. And then if you are going to ask what is the level of job satisfaction, for example, and you will be having the mean. Okay, so you have to discuss that what is a mean, what's the use of mean in your study, and lastly, example, you have your question, is there a significant difference? Example, you will be utilizing ANOVA, you have that in your statistics class, right? Now, you have to include here na ANOVA yung gagamitin ninyo. Okay, and that you have to provide the description also of what ANOVA is. So just like with them, diba? May isa-isa nila dito. For the demographic profile daw, i-analyze nila using frequency distribution. But for the level of medical fake news and fear-mongering, what was it? Oh, we have two, the mean and the standard deviation. And since their study is correlational in nature, according to them, it's Pearson R correlation. Okay? So you have to discuss that one. Okay, if you have difficulties, class, in determining the correct statistical tool na gagamitin ninyo sa study ninyo, please don't hesitate to ask me. But please do that during our class time or during that time na nandito ako sa school, wala akong ginagawa, o kaya nasa laboratory ako. Huwag niyo na ako puntahan sa classroom kung nagle-lesson or nagle-lecture ako. Sa laboratory, okay lang. Pero most of the time, I'm giving the consultation during class time. So please do not expect me to to answer you outside our class hours. Kung magme-message kayo sa akin sa Facebook. Kasi marami pa akong ginagawa niyan. And especially at night time. Kasi aside sa marami akong ginagawa, most likely, it will be my rest time. So, kaya kapag nag-ask ako sa inyo, if you have questions, you really have to raise your concerns during that time, ha? Kasi that's the only time I have. Okay? So, that's it for the data analysis. Again, you may ask me if you are not sure with your data analysis class. So, go back to your statistics na subject and check there what will be the most applicable statistical tool for your research. And then the last part for the methodology is our ethical considerations. Okay? So sa ethical consideration, please, include there that your research will seek approval from the Research Ethics Committee of the school, and that you have to you have to include one by one the ethical principles that you need to consider in your research. Okay, wait lang ha. Okay. Ano yan? Regarding sa references, ilang spaces ang i-follow? Anong references? Ito. Ito, dito, sa baba. Double space pa rin. Double space pa rin ito. Ayan. This one. Sige lang. I hope I can finish the ethical consideration quickly and then we'll talk about the references. Double space pa rin yun. Nagahimo naman sa inyong references. Ay, nasubraan. Ethical consideration naman na ito. Kompleto na ba paper ninyo? May nagsabi sa akin na ano ba? Meron pa daw walang title. Sino kaya yun? Defense na ba yan? Tapos ngayong hapon, defense na ng psychology. Mauna na sila. Follow na kayo. Double space. Double space na pa rin yan. Okay, so ito yung mga ethical considerations in their study informed consent, especially class if you are going to do survey, if your study involves human subject, even if it is an experimental study. For example, you will be asking them specimens like blood, ganon. You really have to secure informed consent. So you have to provide a description on what is the use of the informed consent in your study and what's the importance of that. And then other things they have included here is example, justice, risk of harm, or privacy and confidentiality. But let me show you, shift tayo doon sa ano. Ay, dito. Research format, ethics guidelines. Ito yung mga dapat nyo i-consider pero depende ito sa need ng research ninyo. Ito yung mga elements of the research ethics na pwede nyong isulat again doon sa inyong paper. So example, social value. If your research class is merong relevance on existing social or health problems, pwede niyong isulat ang social value doon sa ethical consideration. So, if ever your study will solve a certain health problem or community problem or social issues, sulat niyo si social value and then you explain how your study will give betterment to the current situation. Okay? Huwag na natin masyadong itaas yung ating discussion kasi anyway naman, all you need to do is to connect this element to your study. And then ito yung sa nakita natin sa previous example, the informed consent. We really need to secure this one from our respondents or subjects kasi ito yung ating parang proof na walang pilitan sa study natin and that voluntary yung kanilang pagsali. Okay, wait lang. Low ba? Okay? Sige. Gawa kayo ng informed consent form nyo balik ako later sa example natin and then I'll show you their informed consent para you will be guided. Okay? Sige, what else? This is still the consent. Ito, hindi. Ito, risk, benefits, and safety. So, for example, your study class will cause harm to your respondents. You really have to include that one in the informed consent also. And at the same time, in the ethical consideration, you have to explain how are you going to, anong tawag dyan? Paano niyo i-alleviate yung risk or yung burden or even yung harm na mako-cost nyo sa iyong respondent. And that paano nyo siya i-compensate. Okay? Paano natin bibigyan ng compensation if ever merong harm na mangyari. If ever lang meron. Siyempre kung wala. Huwag nyo nang ilagay. And if, for example, you will have benefits, like you will have monetary benefits or whatever benefit are you going to give to your respondents, kailangan i-divulge nyo din. Ilagay nyo din talaga siya in your paper. Okay? And then ito, privacy and confidentiality. You have to explain under the ethical consideration that you will be, syempre, upholding the privacy and confidentiality ng iyong respondent. And how are you going to do that? You have to provide the steps, class. Paano nyo gagawin na hindi malilik yung information about your respondents. Okay? And then we have another element here, justice. Okay? So like, you have this one, requires the equitable distribution of both the burdens and the benefits of participation in research. So yan yung sinabi ko kanina. For example, there will be harm or a possible risk in your research. You have to explain how are you going to compensate that, also to give justice to your respondents or participants. And then you may have to include transparency also. Class, hindi ko sinasabing lahat ng elements na ito ilalagay niyo sa paper ninyo, ha. Depende lang sa need ng inyong paper, ng iyong study. Kung ano yung ethical elements that you need to consider. Okay? So if it needs transparency, especially if like meron kayong mga possible risk or harm sa patient, you really have to be transparent to them. So under the ethical consideration, you have to include there the steps that you are going to do to provide transparency to your respondents. Okay? Lahat ng kailangan yung sabihin sa kanila, isabi nyo na. Yan yun. Okay? So going back to the sample paper. So ito lang yung elements they have considered, class, in their research. Their informed consent, and then they have justice here. So diba, nakasulat dito, the researchers ensured fair and equitable treatment for all the participants and that they were protected against exploitation. And then risk of harm. Paano nila ito inalivate, no? And then the privacy and confidentiality, paano nila protect. Okay? So ito lahat. But do not forget the research ethics committee. Now, ang pinaka-importante sa lahat, yung informed consent nila. So ito yun, informed consent. Nasira lang ha ang format. So meron sila ditong informed consent with the logo of the school, and then they have an introduction here of what their research is all about. And then syempre information about the institution and the purpose of their study para it will be clear to the participants para saan yung sasagutan nila or yung kanilang participation. Okay? And then you may also include a summary of the procedure of the study and how you're going to gather the information from them. And then if ever there is a possible risk or benefit from your study, you have to include that also so that before signing, the participant will be informed, okay, ahead of time. If ever you will have benefits like signing or answering the questionnaire will you will give something in return, a token, for example, kailangan nakasulat yan siya. And then you have to have a provision on the right to the refusal to participate and withdraw anytime, because you have to inform that even if they give their consent at first, they are free to withdraw anytime, class. And then the clause for confidentiality, you have to assure them that their information, whatever information you get from them, will be protected. Okay? And then you can also have your contact number here in your informed consent. And dito sila pipirma sa participants consent declaration. Meron din kayong part dito ha, researchers declaration, na talagang pipirma ka dyan na ensuring na talagang inexplain mo sa participant in detail yung iyong study before kayo nagbigay ng questionnaire. Okay? Questions or clarifications on this part? Baka may gusto kayong i-clarify dyan. Tanong nyo na siya ngayon. By the way, this will be our format sa school ha. Use Times New Roman. Ang font size niyan ay 12. Double space. Okay, double space. And then margins should be 1 inch except the left side. The left side should be 1.5 inches. And then the page number should be on the upper right side corner of the paper. Nasa taas ha, nasa right, after the running head. So ano ba yung running head? Yung kanina nakita natin sa taas, sa tabi ng page number, ang running head is parang shortcut or a summary of your title. You shorten your title. That will be the running head. Okay, it will be placed on every page except for the preliminaries. And then katabi ni running head yung ating page number. To take note also, all paragraphs should be justified except for the abstract. The abstract is not justified, class. Yung iba straight talaga yan, justified. And then if you are going to print your paper, especially for the hardbound, it should be using short band paper. Okay? Sige ha. So yun yung mga dapat ninyong tandaan about research. Your own paper. Do you have questions or clarifications?